Everyone should work, including our representatives, our delegation, for negotiations with the Russian Federation. It is difficult but important, as any war ends with an agreement. The meetings continue, and I am informed the positions during the negotiations already sound more realistic, but time is still needed for the decisions to be in the interests of Ukraine.
Let's get some analysis on what the president has just said, as well as the current situation. Iliya Kusa is an analyst over at the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. He joins us now live. Iliya, good to see you. When the Ukrainian president expresses his thoughts on the negotiations as being more realistic, what do you think that means?
I think that means that Russians began to alter their demands. And because if you compare what they were talking in the first days of the invasion and what they are trying to, what messages they're trying to convey now, they are really different. So, for example, during the latest peace talks between Ukrainian and Russian delegations, Russians ceased to talk about these demands about the so-called demilitarization and denazification, which they pushed forward in the first days of invasion. So now they're not talking about them. Now they are focusing mainly on Ukraine's neutral status and the ceasefire and, the extent to which Russians should withdraw their forces. And actually, Dmitry Peskov, President Putin's press secretary, not long ago said that the so-called demilitarization, as they see in Ukraine, is coming to an end. So we see that their demands is being altered. They're trying to correct them to be more, to push aside these maximalist demands that Putin firstly voiced when he was giving his speech on 21st of February.
There is, without a doubt, a lot of maneuvering going on. You said that this was just perhaps Russians altering their positions. You also mentioned sort of the possibility of Ukraine obtaining a neutral stance. I also want to sort of highlight the statement made by the Ukrainian president saying that Ukraine will not become a NATO member. Is this perhaps making concessions on his country then?
Yes, I think that neutral status is one of key questions that could be that could become the center of compromise between Russia and Ukraine during these talks. Well, actually, Ukraine's ascension into NATO was always, it was always in question. So actually, what President Zelenskyy said is he stated the obvious reality where Western countries are not ready for Ukraine to join NATO, and this was the reality since 2008, actually. So Ukraine's ascension into NATO was always in question. But the problem here is not only NATO. The problem is that Russia's position is really difficult in terms of their stance towards Ukraine's sovereignty and independence. Because, for example, what Putin said, and he didn't retract from his words till today. What he said on 21st of February and then on 24th is that he actually denied Ukraine's right to sovereignty. And this is the problem when it comes to talks between Ukraine and Russia. Russians do not seem to see Ukraine as some kind of an equal, independent country, and unless they retract from these statements, I don't see how there could be a breakthrough in negotiations.
Okay, Iliya Kusa, thank you very much for joining us here on the NewsHour. Do appreciate the analysis. Good stuff.